What the Pel is up, everybody? This is Pelicans Plus with Elliot Clough at Elliot Clough on Twitter. Before we get started, make sure that you are subscribed or follow the podcast, if I could talk. And also, this episode is brought to you by Hornitos. Hornitos, the official tequila of Pelicans Plus and Boot Crew Media. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave that rate and review while you're there as well. Of course, we got the man, the Spaces King, Chris Connor, joining us today at Impatient Bull on Twitter. And before we even get started, we already got a big yikes in the chat. Thank you, John. Chris, thanks so much for joining, man. How are you?
Happy to be here, man. I'm happy you hit me just in time, in all honesty. What John is giving the yikes, man?
The title of the podcast.
No, that's definitely yikes.
Okay. Yeah. Not a good day on Pels Twitter, not only after that massive loss, but after everything that happened today in terms of news. And if you're not aware, literally within 20-30 minutes, we were told Zion would be practicing, and then right after that got subtracted from us. So a little bit of positivity in the air after, winning 305, and then this Zion news, possibly him coming back. We get the rug ripped out right underneath of us. It's like, never be positive as a Pels fan. That's basically what it's telling us. How are you thinking, or what are you feeling about this whole thing, Chris?
So you can look at it that way, or you can try to flip it, right? Because I'm in therapy, so I be trying to flip these things to a positive, like the best spin that I can. Let's just say the franchise has a way of keeping you humble. Let's go with that, man. I look, as I tell people all the time, man, it's been 20 years watching this team and different versions of it, since the minute they moved to New Orleans. So like nothing that can be perceived as negative really like shakes me anymore. You just take what you can from it and and kind of hope for the best, limit your expectations, and hopefully you end up surprised. Because like no matter what, when they in Dallas on Friday, my silly ass gonna be sitting there watching, hoping and believing they got a chance to win. So what's the point of even like being complaining about it or being upset at whoever anymore? I mean, end of the day, we all, a good majority of us really love the team. We love the city. It's tough to hear news as people slowly started to build back up that optimism. The team is winning and Zion's getting close to a return. And then you get some conflicting reports about his situation. It's part, man, it's part of the package when you sign up, being a Pelicans fan, observer, blogger, writer, whatever,
And man, like if Shams basically he was wrong about the situation, which that rarely happens. And to have that on top, it's just a bunch of conflicting information. And like, what were your expectations when Zion got hurt? Did you think he'd be back anytime soon? Because right when it started to go into the season, we were like 2 weeks from being 2 weeks from being 2 weeks from being away. That's just been the consistent for Zion the whole season. So at one point, I was thinking December, and some people have said January. Are you surprised by what's happened here?
No.
Yeah.
It just you get used to it. Like you get excited, but in the back of your mind, you're preparing yourself for something like that could happen, right? You watch the earlier in the process where we were missing updates. He didn't look to be in the best of shape, right? So you have to think at some point that maybe there could be a setback of sorts. It just, this one, if it irritates you at all, it irritates you because it was so close. Zion was probably a week and a half away, from playing. That's the truth. If he continued on the trajectory that he was on, now you're just back into a level of confusion. Like there's nothing. You don't have a timetable anymore. You're back to kind of where you started and just a question mark. I think that's what bothers you the most, just the unknown. and it's just it's too often that we've seen unknown hypotheticals, what ifs. You want a sense of consistency or something that you can like be sure of. This is another extension of it. But look, I don't want to dwell on it too much, man. I'm still enjoying watching this team, even in this period. This news, right? It comes fresh off now. They had a very bad loss against Dallas, and they had a very bad loss against Utah, but they beat Utah the night before, and they beat the Clippers, who with the Paul George, who didn't, I think he didn't play yesterday against the Kings or whatever, but a healthy Paul George. They continue to do that. You had an amazing Jonas game, so all isn't hell. Brandon Ingram's getting healthier, but now Josh Hart has right knee soreness, so it's tough, man. But I'm trying my best in the process, man, just to latch on to what the team has, because again, we're gonna be here watching this team. Maybe some people will give up a mailing in and they'll just be like, all right, I'll see the team next year. But for what we do, having to create content, wanting to create content, loving the city, loving the team, we're gonna be here. So whether it's Herb Jones, whether it's Jonas, whether it's BI, whether it's Devontae, Josh Hart, whether Trey Murphy starts to get minutes again, Kyra Lewis, whatever I have to latch myself onto and just loving basketball at the end of the day, I'm going to try to do it, and I hope a lot of other people follow suit.
Sure. And I mean, you mentioned Jonas. Holy crap, that was nuts.
What was that?
What
was that?
To be up there with some of those names that have hit 7 threes in a game, I mean, damn. And so many people are excited about that, and that's awesome. And I mean, talk about an upgrade. Like the more this season continues, it's just so clear that the Pels fleeced the Grizzlies in that trade.
Jonas came off a pin down screen in a game. What the fuck was that? What? And splashed it in rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
No, Jonas shot a 3 with 3 people around him. Splashed it. What is that? Jonas went from one side. He went from coast to coast pretty much and dunked the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He took he drove from the 3-point line. His first step was from the free throw line and puts together a nice finger roll. I will, if this team could lose every game the rest of the way, no one can take my joy from watching that.
There are, what other centers are doing all that? Like Jokic?
Bro. Jokic ain't coming off no fucking pin down. Ain't coming off no curve, bro.
I'm just trying to, I don't know. It's
not happening. That's insane, bro. It should not exist. They're wild for even it worked.
And the thing about that is, like, Jonas he hasn't always been that. Like, he has not. That is something he has worked on, dude. And to have a guy like that, and to get all sentimental and positive, it's kind of, in regards to this and what I'm about to say, sounds a little cheesy. But to have a guy like that in your locker room that has put in that type of work is freaking huge. And it doesn't stop. And he decided he wanted to stick around, sign that extension. Some of us were a little skeptical because, it's another big man extension. But damn, thank God he did, because one of the few bright spots we've had.
Think about how often, if you've been watching this franchise, you're used to bring someone in, whether it be via trade or being through free agency, and they underperform, right? They underperform. They disappoint you.
JJ Redick.
Well, second year for sure. But, Derek Favors. Derek Favors was supposed to come to New Orleans and be, the word that kept circling around was untapped potential. He has the worst year of his professional career. And I'm not talking about statistically, losing his mother. He had back spasms that limited what he could do athletically. They couldn't find a way to really get him comfortable in the offense. But he had his moments, but it wasn't what people expected. In some cases, similar with Steven Adams, consistent. I think he did a lot of good things, but I think some people expected more, for what you ended up, bringing in. And the list goes on and on. Solomon Hill. And I mean, I could be here all day talking about him. Not only did you get somebody in Jonas that was as advertised, he's better than advertised. He's playing the best basketball of his life with the Pelicans immediately. That hasn't happened often when the Pelicans have acquired somebody, acquired talent. He's a top 5 center right now. He's that good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got him on an extension, which ends up turning into a steal. We haven't seen a whole bunch of that. So, Listen, we make jokes and we throw David Griffin into the wall and, decipher everything he says and does. And I'm one of the culprits. I'm one of those people that are guilty of that, but he deserves credit for that.
Yeah. And I think the Devontae addition has been huge too. I mean, he just had that game winner against Utah. That was nasty. And the fact that BI gave it up there that was a huge thing to me because, I mean, BI it's like he hasn't relented anything in those last moments. Like, I mean, as he's been here in New Orleans, it's those ISO possessions towards the end of games that really I don't know how many games they've lost because of that. But the fact that he gave it up to Devontae there and Devontae splashed it was freaking awesome. I mean, that was I think for a lot of Pels fans who, like we've mentioned, have struggled through this season and even before, it was just kind of a moment where it was like, but I mean, I jumped up off my couch, but at the same time, just kind of like a thank God, got something to go our way.
And you want to. That's one of the reasons why you keep. I want to. I tell people to just, continue finding a way to ride with this team, man. They're showing you, they're not the average 6 and 7, 6 and 17, 6 and 18 team that you're used to. I mean, like Devontae was having a bad game. I mean, if we're being honest, it wasn't. He wasn't playing off the charts in that particular contest. Everybody in that building thought BI would shoot that ball, right? And if he would have shot it, nobody would have blamed him for it. But instead, he has trust and belief in a guy who's not having a good game to say, all right, and being aware enough, self-aware in that moment, off of a rebound, no timeout, no direction from, from Willie, right, or at least that we know of, to say, wait a minute, this is his shot. These are the shots he practices. These are the ones that I see him making all the time. We've seen him make clutch shots in Charlotte. Oh, this is his moment. He's open. Everybody's coming towards me. He had the trust for him to deliver, and Devontae did. So I mean, in Utah, a game that they had no business winning, right? If you on paper coming into the contest, you gotta. Those are situations I look at and I take some type of a lot of pleasure in, because you're still unhealthy, and the Zion news is what it is, but it gives you a glimpse of what the team can do every now and then. And maybe those type of performances, those type of measures of trust within each other can continue to get them, at least keep them close, keep them around in reaching distance of, a possible playing spot. We keep banking on Zion. I mean, but, that's where the optimism, I think, right now really falls in, because we know if they have any chance of, playing beyond the regular season in any capacity, he's going to have to be out there.
Right. And, but on top of that, in terms of some other positivity we can heap on the pile here, this team, you got the Josh Hart knee soreness, and BI struggled with his health so far this season, but they found the starting 5. Like that has been solidified. I mean, Nikhil was in there, Josh Hart was in there, Garrett Temple was in there. Obviously, Josh is going to be a mainstay, but that is a big positive. If they can start those games like that, and Nikhil can come off the bench and is a little relaxed, I feel like he just put way too much pressure on himself going into this season. I mean, there was that MIP noise around him, and we were hoping he would be an offensive spark plug. And he still, I mean, he can be that, but to have him like that off the bench and just to have him a little bit more relaxed, I think those are two huge positives for this team this year too.
I mean, it gives Nikhil, and I mean, listen, he's still finding himself, but it gives him the opportunity to have more freedom, have the ball in his hands a little bit more. And he's been adjusting to different roles since he's been in the league, right, with New Orleans. I mean, it's just the case. But a lot of people have been pegging him in as a guy who should be in a six-man type of slot, because we know the ability that he has and you know, his wants to put the ball in the basket, create for others, and have the basketball in his hands. And on top of the fact that, you know, off the ball, Nikhil, if we're talking about as a stationary shooter or as a spot-up shooter, he's not there. I mean, it's not consistent yet, right? So he needs the ball in his hands. But on top of the fact, he has the accessories and, you know, the overall, you know, ability and the variety of moves and just ways that he can break down a defense, especially when he's, you know, when he's aggressive and he's penetrating and not settling for shots, that this team needs, especially off the bench. There's no one else that they can really put in that role when you look at who's locked in as the starters. Him going to the bench, it puts, you know, a heavy spotlight on what Herb Jones has been able to do once again, and just his ability, Herb Jones being to impact games defensively right away. Look, he's been on everybody's best player, you know, and last night Luka was Luka. For whatever reason, Luka just whoops our ass, man.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who's there. Drew Holiday, like, you know, whether it's Lonzo guarding him, Herb guarding him, you know, Herb comes off games where he makes Paul George and Donovan Mitchell look human, and Luka destroys them, right? But hey, I mean, that's a part of the process. But Herb has been fantastic, and you know, you can't really get that without Nikhil going to the bench. Similar to what Josh Hart's been doing, his improvements as a shooter, as a you know, an initiator in the offense, as a playmaker, and as from what we already know about his ability to drive and finish layups, rebounding and such. So I mean, there's some things there, man. I mean, it's still a large hole missing, but you've been able over the past week or so, past 2 weeks, to kind of get the vision of what this team is trying to do.
Right. And, you know, and some wins have come along with that. And I think, like I said, it's been clear that the starting five has been solidified. Nikhil's starting to figure out his role more. And to think that not only would this team have those sort of things figured out quickly, one, but without Zion, two, and have them start off and be good, I think it was... I mean, when you look at things on paper, I mean, it's not 2K. Like that's what we're getting at.
Right.
Chemistry is very real. You know, 2K doesn't factor in that and the human factor, right? And so I think our expectations, you know, in not having Zion killed, right? It did hurt the expectations, but I mean, my expectations were still high, and I look back and I'm like, whoa, get yourself together, Clough, you know, like, but I think that a lot of those things are starting to come along, you know, maybe too late to make a playoff push. I mean, they're like we said, 6-18, probably too late. But they're coming along, and, you know, it's been a lot of next season with this team, but, you know, sometimes you just got to be realistic.
Yeah, I mean, or just take the things as they come, man. If
Sure.
They end up figuring it out and they go on an unexpected win streak, fine, man.
Right.
You know, but there's nothing that can be controlled about the current path that they're on. You know, most teams, if they're playing without their number one player and then at certain points playing without number one and number two, they're going to suck. That's just how it works. Dallas definitely put up 2.
Yeah, it's good, Jamal.
In New Orleans. I mean, I you know, and look, hopefully Friday, and, you know, you're learning that at least with this team, you can't. I feel like Willie Green has found a way to get these guys to respond, even when you don't expect,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yep.
So I expect them to play a lot more tough, a lot more aggressive, a lot more hungry Friday, no matter who's out there. I don't think that they're going to get blown out. What was it, 30, 32 or something
Like that.
crazy?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, man. I mean, but, look, I mean, they are, I believe most nights the team is going to fight. And if I'm going to spend my money, if I'm going to watch it, if I'm looking at it from that perspective, if I'm going to watch it, at the end of the day, what do I want? Can these young guys develop? Am I getting pieces and guys that I think have a future in New Orleans that will fit around their stars? The health aspect, we just got to see how it goes, and hopefully, it gets better. But I mean, like I said, like we've been saying, there's some positivity, there's some positive pieces of parts there, even if it's not a full season. I know people don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear it. I get it. What else can you grasp from it right now? The NBA, it's not like football, man. It's a long season, but it's 82 games, and it's not 18. So we're gonna be here for a while.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
We'll be here for a while.
Long, painful season, but should they flip things around and maybe they start to get right on that play-in bubble, maybe that's probably going to be where they're at if they have a shot. But I mean, we got John in the chat saying they went 6-22 and probably should have made the playoffs had Zion not hurt himself in the bubble. And so we get into a situation like that where we're looking at the Pelicans being a possible play-in team and they're competing and you can get, I mean, that's, especially if Zion's back, that's incredible experience. It's very valuable. So is there a player that could be available that you would want to trade for? You had to know this was coming, man. You had to know. And we haven't talked about it in a little while. But I know on Locked on Pels, Jake had a graphic. I didn't get to listen to it, but he had a graphic that had Russ, John Wall, and Ben Simmons on it. Yeah, I'm just, I didn't listen to it, so I don't know what he talked about. But
they need a backup point guard, like a legit backup point guard. They have to turn Sadaransky and the trade exception that they have into something. That's the biggest problem, weakness, I think, on this current team when they are healthy and even when they're not. Like, they need, even with Devontae, even with his skills as a passer that was, which were underrated, I think, by a lot of people, his ability to, to penetrate. He's taking a little bit, I believe he's taking more mid-ranges, the driving ability that we see sometimes, the long range shooting. They need a guy that can get other guys that can manipulate pick and rolls. They need, I don't want to even call it more of a traditional point guard, but they need somebody at the point of attack with the basketball in their hands that off the bench can be a plus, just can't be terrible, right? And I think that's really important because of that bench unit right now. I know Billy Hernangomez has been playing well, but one of the biggest reasons that Jackson Hayes is struggling right now, outside of his own individual deficiencies, right, physically and mentally, whatever, however you want to look at it,
falling back into bad habits.
Yeah, falling back into bad habits. One of his issues, the issues that he runs into, is that, or could help him, would be a point guard, would be somebody that can manipulate P and rolls, that can shoot mid ranges, floaters, so on and so forth, and just control the pace of the game when the starters or when certain individuals are out, calm things down, but make other players around them better. I don't think those people grow on trees. Ricky Rubio was a dude that people were talking about a while ago. I don't see Cleveland really having emphasis. They're 12-10 right now. Why would they get rid of them? They're probably, they should be a playoff team, right? But you have to get an upgrade with Sadaransky one way or another, someone who can handle the basketball. And okay, if Nikhil is going to be the one that mainly handles it, fine. Get somebody else that can make other guys around him better offensively, but mainly with the basketball in their hands. I don't know if I don't know how long Jackson Hayes is going to be in the doghouse, but and Shamet was one that Shamet, and it was a few others that I think that mentioned how important a point guard could be for him right now, because teams are taking away his dives, they're taking away his alley oops. He's not going to just stand behind the 3-point line. But if your guards aren't penetrating consistently and bringing centers or big men up to respect you, then yeah, he's never going to get looks. And we know that those dunks, those alley oops, those looks at the rim, that's what gets his motor going. Whether that's right or not, that's what gets him going and has him, it lifts his energy and it helps the team out. So I mean, I unless they're going to trade Jackson, which I'm not really sure about either, but I think that a backup guard, one way or another, just an upgrade over Satoransky, they desperately need.
Now, I'm not going to let you avoid the question. Any particular player?
I mean, I know everybody likes, like Buddy Hield, man. I would really like them to have a way of getting Goran Dragic. I don't know if he would want to be here and be happy, but Dragic would be perfect. He's a calming presence. He's a veteran. He has the ability to drive. He can shoot the three. He can shoot the floater. He can find other guys. He's been in other winning situations.
Isn't he? Didn't he leave the team for personal reasons recently?
I think so, but yeah. I feel like part of that was him. I don't know if he ever wanted to play in Toronto.
I know he didn't.
I mean, I think
that right now.
I mean, look, somebody along that line. I mean, I wouldn't be disappointed at knocking on the Knicks' door about Kemba Walker.
It's not a $34 million contract anymore.
Yeah, that's just how I'm looking at it. And I like Kyra, and it's tough because you still need to find him minutes, right? But if you talk about upgrading the team, that would be where I would be looking at more so than but a backup big. I mean, it's either one or the other.
Right. And as you say that, Jamal would like Mo Bamba. We've talked about this before. Jamal and I have gone back and forth. Man. I know.
It's too late. It's too late, Jamal. We missed that boat, bro.
Right.
It's too late now. Orlando's not moving him.
No. The thing that would make me probably a little nervous about going out and getting Kemba in that situation, and you just went black, so I'm hoping that you're still there, Chris. Can you hear me? Okay. And did you hear what I was saying? Could you hear me? Are you there? Oh, okay. Well, I lost Chris. All right. Anyway, the thing about getting Kemba that makes me nervous is the combination of. Could you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard you. Go ahead.
Okay. And I'll say this and then we'll wrap it up here. But the thing that makes me nervous about going to get Kemba is the pairing of him and Devontae in the backcourt. Because then, and if you keep Kyrie, you got 3 undersized guards.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, I'm looking at it as Kemba being more of a, as being coming off your bench, and he would be taking a lot of those Kyrie minutes. And you probably be looking at him and Nall together. I'm looking more so as a reserve role. I don't think. Okay. I'm not sure if Kemba's in a situation where he's gonna be starting anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Knicks are at a point to where they won't even play, I mean, it's taking away his value, a lot, right? To where Alex Burks is the guy they want to put in the starting lineup, and he doesn't have a role as the guard off the bench because Derrick Rose is healthy right in there. So I think a 6-man may be Kemba's future, a guard off the bench one, and I think he'll be fine at that. That will be something that this team needs, a guy who can do a bunch of different things on the floor, can create for himself, can create from others in some type of capacity, and is in a situation where, I guess more than anything, like the team that he's currently on don't really have use for him, which is probably why Jake mentioned a guy like John Wall, for example.
Right.
Because he wouldn't hurt you.
Exactly. Jamal came at it with Marvin Bagley, which is, and maybe maybe it's these guys on the fringes that can still have an impact elsewhere. And for whatever reason, situations have gone sour or whatever. I like that point. But anyway, Chris, I know you got to get out of here, but I appreciate you, brother. This is for those of you who don't know, who weren't tuned in all the way back then, not the OGs. Chris, my very first Pelicans guest on when I would still believe in the New Orleans Pelicans. So it's been a long time, and I appreciate this guy probably more than he knows and more than y'all know. He's at Impatient Bull on Twitter. Go follow him for sure. Got to tap into those spaces too for sure. Chris,
it's a fun time, man. Y'all, listen, man. Elliott's going places, man. He tries to be humble, man, and he gives you these, all this all shuck shit, man. But he's gonna be, I hope all of you are locking in with them, no matter whatever's next for him. It's been a long journey for him, in which I remember. I just so happen to be a part of it. So he can give me credit, but that was all him. So yeah, man. As always, man, I'm glad you reached out to me. I'm glad I could, be a part of here because we helped each other, man. So don't, you could talk your shit a little bit more, man.
Hey, man, you always got a platform here. I appreciate you, brother. We're gonna get out so Chris can get out. But once again, folks, I'm Elliot Clough at Elliot Clough on Twitter, and this was Pelicans Plus.